mid 2018, I felt this call to go to France because I read some stuff about Mary Magdalene. I was starting to get into the Gnostic Gospels, and I was like, nobody ever taught me at church. I've like been a religious devotee. Like, why are we not hearing about Mary Magdalene, number one? Because she's very pivotal to especially the resurrection story and Easter and everything. And number two, I found out that there were these texts that were discovered in like right around the time of World War II and in Egypt, and they contain a lot of texts that could have really benefited Christianity, but all the churches were just not even exploring it, not even going there. But I did, and I started to meet other people that did. And then I find out she's in France, that Mary Magdalene went there after the crucifixion, and had a whole life there. And that really intrigued me. And so I decided to just Google Mary Magdalene pilgrimage France or Mary Magdalene retreat France. I knew I needed to go to France. And to the region where she was and where all these legends abound and where all these texts indicate that she lived. So I did. I just chose, I didn't know anyone in this group, but I found out that the woman her name is Chloe Mercer. I had met her before. Let me back up. So I went to Glastonbury, and I felt called to go there as well. And for those of you guys unfamiliar with, I know you're familiar, Katish, but maybe some of your listeners, like that's another sort of like divine feminine hotspot on the earth. The Chalice Well, the gardens, the Tour, the Avalon. So I had done an Avalon pilgrimage. And then I was like, the next place is France. So I met Chloe in Glastonbury, and I have been part of her mystery school now for all of this time. And we'll get to her in a minute. But I went with a separate group to France. And I just Googled and found it online. And I just went and met everybody there. And they were all from America, and we all didn't know each other. But it was like I came home. I have no other way to describe what it was like to be there other than the lands felt familiar. They felt, it didn't feel like I was in a foreign country aside from the language. I felt so nestled in to the lay of the land. And I don't know how much you want me to describe, but that experience being a week or 10 days in France and going to all of the places and having a guide, and everyone was mystical and everyone was searching and everyone was, I would say, of one purpose and unity in terms of how come I feel the call of the Magdalene? What is this about for me? So the turning point was we'd had a little kind of a group dispute about an issue, and I felt like I was staying in integrity, and then I just felt, this is icky. Why am I here? All of a sudden, it just felt weird. So I was in my room alone, and I was praying and I was contemplating, and I fell asleep. And it was, what do you want from me, Mary Magdalene? Like, how did I end up here? Why am I in France? I've got kids. I was there during my marriage anniversary. It was just like, what am I doing here? And I had a middle of the night mystical experience that I'm still integrating, but it was physically undeniable. And I won't go into too much detail other than to say a very strong feminine presence was asking me what I wanted. And I was like, nobody has ever in my entire religious life asked me what I want. And that all of a sudden I just went into my heart, and all these longings were coming out. So I was expressing non-verbally. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I couldn't open my eyes. I wasn't afraid, but I was stupefied, awestruck. And so I began to share from my heart. I was rattling what I valued, my core values. One of them was health. One of them was about my family and being mother, and truth. Those are the three that stood out to me the most. I want truth in my life. I value truth. actual reality.
Mhm.
So I journaled about it quite a bit, and I ended up having a beautiful experience for the rest of that pilgrimage.